Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're all about helping you learn English, and today we're diving into a really fun way to do just that.
We're going to be looking at a conversation, a simple one, something you might hear in everyday life.
Exactly. It's perfect for those of you who are just starting out with English, because we're using easy vocabulary and common phrases.
Think of it as learning English by listening in on a real chat.
Right. Like imagine you're hanging out with friends who are talking about a book they just read.
And that's exactly what we're doing today.
We're calling this Deep Dive at the Reading Club an English conversation for beginners. So, get ready to meet Alex and Ella.
They're at their book club meeting, ready to talk about their latest read.
We'll hear their conversation first, then break it down so you can use the same phrases and words.
It's like having a secret decoder ring for English conversations.
All right, let's jump right in. Hi, Ella.
Hi, Alex. Ready to talk about the book?
You bet. I think the book this month was a bit challenging, don't you?
Yes, especially the part about the historical context. It was hard to follow.
But the characters were so vivid. I felt like I could really understand them.
I agree. The main character's journey was inspiring. Did you have a favorite part?
I loved the scene where she stood up for herself. It was so empowering.
Yes, that was memorable. I wish the ending was a bit more detailed, though.
Me too.
Hmm,
Maybe the author wanted us to imagine what happens next.
that's true. It does make the story stick in your mind longer.
See, so much to learn from just a short chat.
Absolutely. It's packed with useful phrases you can use when you're talking about books.
Okay, let's break it down. First, we have a simple greeting. Hi, Ella. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, just a casual, friendly way to start things off.
Then Alex jumps right in and says, I think the book this month was a bit challenging, don't you? This is a great way to start a book conversation.
He's sharing his opinion and inviting Ella to do the same.
And notice how he uses don't you at the end. It's like he's looking for Ella to agree with him.
Exactly. A nice way to keep the conversation flowing.
So what does Ella say?
She says, yes, especially the part about the historical context. It was hard to follow. She agrees with Alex.
Right, and she even gives a reason why she agrees.
Instead of just saying yes, she adds a specific detail about what she found challenging.
Make it more interesting, right?
Definitely. Now, let's look at some of the words they used. The first one is challenging.
Alex said the book was a bit challenging.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
Well, challenging means something is difficult, but in a good way.
Oh, so it could be a good thing.
Definitely. It means it makes you think it's not too easy, but it's rewarding.
So, not a bad thing at all.
Nope. Another word they used was vivid. Alex said the characters were so vivid.
Right. What does vivid mean?
It means something is very clear, bright, easy to imagine, like you can picture it perfectly in your mind.
Ah, okay. So if a character is vivid, you can really see them and how they act, right?
Exactly. Like they're right there in front of you.
Okay, so we've got challenging, meaning difficult but rewarding, and vivid, meaning creating a clear picture in your mind.
What was that other important word they used?
Empowering, right?
Yes. Ella said the main character's journey was inspiring and that she loved the scene where she stood up for herself. She said it was so empowering.
Ah, yes. Empowering. What does that word mean?
Empowering means something makes you feel strong and confident.
So that scene where the main character stood up for herself, it made Ella feel like she could do anything.
Exactly. Like she had the power to do what she wanted. Empowering is a great word to use when you're talking about something that makes you feel more confident.
Okay, so we've covered some really important vocabulary. Challenging, vivid, and empowering. These are words you'll hear a lot when people are talking about books.
Yeah, they're essential for describing books and characters.
Now let's move on to some phrases that keep the conversation going. One of the most common ones was, I agree. Ellie used it a couple of times to show she agreed with Alex.
Yeah, I agree is simple but important. It's a polite way to show that you understand and agree.
Like saying, you're right, I think the same way.
Exactly. And it helps make the conversation flow smoothly.
Another helpful phrase was, Did you have a favorite part? This is a great way to get the other person talking more about their thoughts on the book.
Yeah, it moves the conversation forward, helps you
And,
learn more about what the other person is thinking.
and it's a question you can use in any conversation,
Oh,
really.
yeah, totally. About a book, movie, even a TV show, anything.
So we've got I agree and did you have a favorite part? Super useful phrases.
And don't forget those vocabulary words: challenging, vivid, and empowering.
It's amazing how much we can learn from just a short conversation.
I know, right? It shows how much we can pick up just by listening closely.
And remember, these words and phrases aren't just for books. You can use them in all sorts of situations.
Exactly. Think of them as tools for your English toolbox.
We're going to dive even deeper into this conversation after a quick break.
Stay tuned.
And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us make more helpful content for you.
We really appreciate it.
All right, we'll be right back with more from At the Reading Club.
We're back. Still hanging out at the book club with Alex and Ella.
And we're uncovering some super helpful phrases, things you can use when talking about, well, anything really.
Last time we talked about words like challenging, vivid, and empowering. Remember those?
And we looked at phrases like I agree, which is always handy, and did you have a favorite part?
Yeah. A great way to keep a conversation going.
Exactly. Now let's see what other gems we can find.
Let's go back to that part where Alex and Ella were talking about the book's ending. Do you remember what Ella said?
She said, I wish the ending was a bit more detailed, though.
Hmm.
Sounds like she wasn't completely happy.
Yeah, I wish is a way of saying you would have liked something to be different.
She's saying she would prefer more details, but she's saying it politely.
Right. It's a useful phrase for expressing a preference or maybe a little disappointment.
And you could use it in other situations too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like you could say, I wish I had more time to read, or I wish the weather was nicer today.
See? Super versatile. Okay, so how did Alex respond to Ella's I wish?
He said, me too, which, by the way, is another super useful phrase. It's an easy way to say you agree with someone.
Right. Shows you're on the same wavelength.
But Alex doesn't stop there. He adds, maybe the author wanted us to imagine what happens next. What do you think he's doing there?
And he's kind of trying to understand the author's choice, right? Like, why end the book that way?
Exactly. He's not just stating his own preference, he's thinking deeper about the book.
That's something we can all do, right? Think about the author's decisions.
Yeah, it makes reading more engaging, more rewarding.
And then Ella says, that's true. It does make the story stick in your mind longer. She's acknowledging Alex's point and adding her own thought.
Exactly. She's building on the conversation. It's like a back and forth, each person adding to what the other said.
Okay, so we've seen I wish, me too, and now that's true. All great phrases for expressing your thoughts.
And remember, you can use these for anything, not just talking about books.
Right, they're like essential conversation tools.
Now, remember that word Ella used earlier? She said the main character's journey was inspiring. I think that's worth exploring a little more.
Yeah. What makes something inspiring?
It means it gives you hope, motivation, or a new perspective. It makes you want to do better, be better.
So Ella felt like the main character's story had a positive impact on her.
Yes. And that's what makes certain characters and stories so memorable, you know? They lift us up, make us think differently.
I totally get that. Have you ever read a book that left you feeling inspired?
Oh, tons of times. It's like magic when a story can change your outlook, even just a little.
Okay, so if you want to say a book had a positive effect on you, inspiring is a good word to use.
Exactly. Or you could say a character is inspiring, someone you really admire.
Good tip. Now let's go back to challenging. Alex said the book was challenging, but he didn't mean it in a bad way.
He seemed to enjoy the challenge. And that's a good point. Even outside of reading, challenges can help us grow.
So we shouldn't avoid difficult books. We should embrace them.
Yes. They push us to think in new ways, learn new things, maybe even learn something new about ourselves.
I like that. Sometimes we shy away from challenges, but that's how we learn and get better.
And even if a book is challenging, it can also be enjoyable, right?
Good point. So we've talked about inspiring and challenging.
And we've seen how you can use them in a normal conversation about a book.
Remember, those words are just the beginning. There's a whole world of vocabulary out there for talking about books.
And the best way to learn it is to keep reading, keep listening, keep practicing.
Absolutely. The more you immerse yourself in English, the better you'll get.
Now let's zoom in on some specifics from the conversation. Alex said, I loved the scene where she stood up for herself. Why do you think that scene stuck with him?
It sounds like a moment where the main character showed courage, you know? Maybe she overcame something difficult.
And that's what Alex connected with, her bravery.
It's cool how different people can find different things interesting in the same story.
Yeah. Like, for me, it was Ella's comment about the historical context being hard to follow. Shows how books can introduce us to new ideas, even historical periods we might not know much about.
Right. Reading can be a real journey of discovery, not just about the story itself.
Sometimes the challenging parts are the most rewarding because they make us learn something new.
So next time you hit a tough part in a book, don't give up. See it as a chance to learn.
And hey, you can use your new English words to talk about those challenges with your friends.
That's a great idea. Talking about a book can help you understand it better.
Did you notice how Alex and Ella used questions to keep the conversation going?
Yeah, asking questions shows you're interested, that you're really listening.
And it makes sure everyone gets to talk, you know? It's not just one person talking the whole time.
Alex started with a question. I think the book this month was a bit challenging, don't you? That got Ella talking right away.
And then Ella asked, did you have a favorite part? Which got Alex to share more details.
So questions are key for a good back and forth, making sure everyone feels included.
There are so many different questions you can ask, too. You can ask open-ended questions that encourage longer answers, like, what did you think of the ending? Or, how did the book make you feel?
Or more specific questions to get more details, like what was your favorite scene or who was your favorite character?
You can even use questions to share your own opinion, like Alex did with, maybe the author wanted us to imagine what happens next.
Right. It's a subtle way to share your thoughts while also getting the other person to talk more.
So next time you're chatting about a book, don't be afraid to ask questions. It'll make the conversation so much more lively.
Now, before we move on, let's appreciate the power of simple language. Alex and Ella had a great conversation using basic vocabulary and grammar.
It proves you don't need to be super fluent to share your thoughts about a book.
That's encouraging for people learning English, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to know a million words to have a good conversation.
The most important thing is to be clear and to be yourself.
Okay, now for a final thought before we wrap up.
What is it?
Reading isn't just about understanding the words. It's about connecting with stories, seeing things from different perspectives, making our lives richer.
Well said.
And talking about those books with others, it deepens our understanding, creates connections.
Turns it into a shared experience instead of just something you do alone.
That's what makes book club so special, right?
And hey, you don't have to be in a book club to talk about books. You can talk with friends, family, anyone.
Find a good book, start a conversation. You might be surprised by what you learn.
And every conversation, it's a chance to practice your English, to connect with people.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into At the Reading Club. We hope you found it helpful.
Keep reading, keep practicing, and keep those conversations going.
And if you like this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us create more content for you.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time for another deep dive.
We've been really digging into this book club chat between Alex and Ella, and I think there's a lot we can take away from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's not just about books. These phrases work for talking about movies, TV shows, you name it.
Right. It's about sharing what you think and reacting to what someone else is saying.
And you don't need fancy language. We saw how simple words like challenging or inspiring really did the trick.
Exactly. Those are your building blocks, you know.
Yeah.
Start simple and you'll get more confident.
One thing I noticed, even when Alex and Ella didn't love the book's ending, they were super polite.
Oh, that's so true. English, especially when you're being social, it can be kind of indirect.
Instead of saying the ending was awful, Ella says, I wish it was more detailed.
Way softer.
Right.
It's like a subtle art, getting your point across without being too harsh.
And Alex does it too. He doesn't just say, I agree. He adds, maybe the author wanted us to imagine what happens next. Keeps things positive.
It's like they're respecting each other's opinions while also adding their own thoughts. That's a good lesson for any conversation.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, even if you're just starting with English, you can totally have awesome conversations about books, movies, anything. Don't be afraid to use those simple words. Ask questions, share your thoughts politely.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
Mm.
The more you use these phrases, the easier it gets.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
What book has really stuck with you, and why? Was it the story, the characters, maybe a theme that really resonated?
That's a great question. I bet our listeners have some amazing stories to share.
And if you're feeling brave, try writing down your answer in English. It's a fun way to practice those descriptive words we talked about.
Totally. Who knows, maybe it'll spark a conversation with someone, all in English. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into At the Reading Club. Hope you enjoyed it.
We had fun. Remember, every conversation is a chance to learn and grow.
Keep reading, keep practicing, and keep those conversations going.
And if you liked this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Helps us reach even more English learners.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, happy reading and happy learning.
Thanks for joining the conversation here at Kaz English. We hope you found it fun and informative. Don't forget to check out kazapp.uk. That's kazapp.uk for more tips, resources, and interactive practice. Keep exploring, keep chatting, and we'll catch up with you again soon.